Welcome, weary wanderers, to a realm where dreams intertwine with reality, and the whispers of the night hold secrets untold. Close your eyes, dear listeners, and let the soft embrace of sleep carry you away on a journey beyond the confines of time and space. Tonight, we embark on a tale woven with threads of magic and mystery, where the forgotten prince shall rise from the shadows to reclaim his rightful place in the kingdom of dreams. So lay your head upon your pillow, surrender to the tranquility of the night, and allow the enchantment of storytelling to guide you into a peaceful slumber. For in the realm of dreams, anything is possible, and adventures await those who dare to close their eyes and let their imaginations soar. Chapter 1: The Enchanted Forest. Once upon a time, in a kingdom where the sun kissed the mountains and the moonlight danced on the rivers, a young prince set forth on a journey that would change the fate of his land. The kingdom, teetering on the brink of war, held its breath as the prince, cloaked in determination and bravery, ventured into the forbidden Enchanted Forest. His quest was to find the ancient artifact, the Heart of Ether, believed to have the power to bring peace to his warring kingdom. The prince, named Alistair, was not just any royal. He was a young man with a heart as bold as the storms that swept over the sea, and a spirit as gentle as the morning dew. Despite the warnings from his counselors and the pleas from his people, Prince Alistair knew that the artifact was the only way to avert the impending doom that loomed over his homeland. As he stepped into the shadows of the Enchanted Forest, the air thickened and a silence fell. The trees stood tall and ancient, their branches weaving into the sky, creating a tapestry of leaves and light. Alistair felt a shiver run down his spine, not from fear, but from the realization that he was stepping into a world beyond his own. The forest seemed to watch him, its unseen eyes following his every move. With each step, Alistair felt the weight of his kingdom's future on his shoulders. He pressed on, guided by the stars and the faint whisper of hope that sang in his heart. But as night descended like a curtain, the forest transformed. Paths twisted and turned in impossible ways, and the familiar stars were obscured by a canopy so dense not a single beam of moonlight could pierce through. Alistair, determined yet disoriented, found himself hopelessly lost. The forest, alive with whispers and shadows, began to close in on him, and the prince realized the journey ahead was nothing like the tales of old. And so, under the watchful gaze of the ancient forest, Prince Alistair's true journey began. A journey not just of valor and search, but one of discovery and fate that would unveil the true strength of his heart and the destiny of his kingdom. As Prince Alistair ventured deeper into the Enchanted Forest, the path beneath his feet seemed to vanish, replaced by a carpet of moss and whispers. The once familiar constellations were hidden, leaving him enveloped in a darkness so dense it seemed to swallow even the sound of his own footsteps. The trees, towering and ancient, twisted into forms that seemed to mock his every turn, their branches clawing at the sky in silent agony. Alistair, though brave, felt a seed of doubt take root within his heart. The forest, with its endless maze of shadows and trickery, seemed to laugh at his plight. He realized that the tales of old, filled with heroic quests and noble knights, had not prepared him for this. This was no ordinary forest. It was a living, breathing entity, and it did not take kindly to strangers. With each step, the prince felt as if he were moving further away from his goal, the heart of ether, and deeper into a labyrinth of despair. The night grew colder, and the air became thick with the scent of unseen flowers, sweet yet suffocating. It was then that Alistair heard the whispers. At first, he thought the voices were a trick of his mind, a product of his isolation and fear. But as he paused, straining to listen, the whispers grew clearer. They were not voices of malice, but of the forest itself, speaking in a language as old as time. The trees, the wind, even the very earth beneath his feet seemed to communicate, guiding him, urging him deeper into the heart of the forest. Alistair, realizing he had no other choice, decided to follow the whispers. He allowed the language of the forest to guide him, feeling an inexplicable trust in the natural world that enveloped him. The prince, once a ruler of men, now found himself at the mercy of nature, a humbling realization that filled him with a newfound respect for the world around him. The whispers led him through veils of mist and groves of trees that glittered like jewels under the gaze of fireflies. Hours passed, or perhaps it was days, for time seemed to hold no meaning in this enchanted place. Finally, when the prince's legs grew weary and his spirit nearly faltered, the forest granted him a reprieve. He found himself in a clearing, the first he had seen since entering the forest. The moon, breaking through the canopy above, bathed the glade in a silvery glow. It was here, in this serene sanctuary, that Alistair encountered the guardian of the forest, the wise owl, whose eyes shimmered with the wisdom of ages. In the clearing, under the watchful gaze of the moon, Prince Alistair stood before the wise owl, its eyes aglow with an ethereal light. The owl, perched upon an ancient oak, seemed to study Alistair with a curiosity that belied its years. It was then that the prince felt a change in the air, a softening of the forest's whisper that spoke of ancient magics and forgotten tales. "The forest has not led you astray, young prince," the owl spoke, its voice a whisper on the wind. "But know this, the path you seek is fraught with perils, both seen and unseen. The heart of ether you so desperately seek is guarded by the very essence of this forest. To reach it, you must first understand the language of the whispering trees." Alistair listened intently, the owl's words weaving into his soul. He had felt the forest's guidance, its subtle nudges and whispers, leading him to this moment. It was as if the trees themselves were alive, their roots intertwined with the fate of all who dared to walk their paths. "The trees," the prince began. "I've felt their presence, their guidance, but how do I understand their language?" "Listen not with your ears, young prince, but with your heart," the owl instructed. "The forest speaks in emotions, in the rustle of leaves and the flow of the river. Each whisper is a piece of a greater story, a story that you are now a part of." With these words, the owl spread its wings and took flight, circling above Alistair before flying deeper into the forest. The prince, feeling a newfound determination, followed the direction of the owl's flight. As he walked, he focused not on the sounds of the forest, but on the feelings they evoked. The fear that had once gripped him began to fade, replaced by a sense of belonging and purpose. The trees, sensing his acceptance, seemed to lean in closer, their whispers more urgent. They spoke of a river hidden deep within the forest, whose waters held the secrets of the past. Alistair felt the pull of the river in his very soul, guiding him through the darkness, until at last he emerged into a grove unlike any other. Here, the trees formed a circle around a pool of water so clear it mirrored the sky above. This was the river's secret, the next step in his journey to unravel the curse that had taken his memories. At the grove, where the air hung heavy with the scent of mystery, Prince Alistair stood at the brink of the river, its waters still as glass. The river's secret, as it was known by the whispering trees, shimmered under the light of the moon, waiting for the prince to unveil its depths. With a heart full of courage and a mind clouded with uncertainty, Alistair stepped forward, his reflection merging with the stars mirrored on the surface. As his fingers touched the cool liquid, ripples danced across the surface, distorting the serene reflection into a whirlpool of memories long forgotten. The water, reacting to the touch of royal blood, began to glow, illuminating the grove with a light as pure as dawn. And then the visions began. Alistair saw himself as a child, running through the halls of a castle that he knew to be his home, laughter echoing off the stone walls. He saw his mother, the queen, with eyes full of love and a smile that could light up the darkest of nights. He saw his father, the king, strong and just, teaching him the ways of the sword and the weight of the crown. Each memory flowed into the next, a cascade of moments that painted a picture of a life filled with love, duty, and the promise of a future king. But as the visions continued, a shadow fell upon them. He saw the kingdom in turmoil, the people divided, and the threat of war looming like a storm on the horizon. He saw himself, older now, arguing passionately in the council chambers, advocating for peace, for solution that would spare his people from the ravages of war. It was then that he learned of the heart of ether, the artifact of legend that held the power to unite and heal. The final vision was of his departure, the weight of his decision pressing down on him as he rode into the Enchanted Forest, the trees swallowing him whole. As the vision faded, Alistair withdrew his hand from the river, the light dimming until only the moonlight remained. He stood there, drenched in the revelations of his past, understanding at last the gravity of his quest. The prince, with memories of his past life flooding back, felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew now what he was fighting for, not just the peace of his kingdom, but the memory of the love and unity that had once defined it. The path ahead was clearer, but no less daunting. The heart of ether lay somewhere beyond the grove, guarded by mysteries yet to unfold. Leaving the mystical embrace of the river's secret behind, Prince Alistair ventured deeper into the heart of the Enchanted Forest. Guided by the moonlight and the newfound clarity of his purpose, the forest, sensing the resolve in his heart, whispered secrets of encouragement with every leaf that brushed against him. Yet, as he moved forward, an uneasy feeling began to settle over him, like a cloak woven from the threads of anticipation and dread. Before long, Alistair found himself at the edge of a vast clearing, unlike any he had encountered before. This was the clearing of shadows, a place where the forest bared its soul, revealing the enchantments that protected its most sacred secrets. The moon hung low, casting eerie shadows that danced and twisted around him as if alive. Stepping into the clearing, Alistair felt the air thicken, charged with ancient magic. The shadows grew more pronounced, each one a dark reflection of the creatures that called the forest home. But among these natural forms were other shadows, darker and more sinister, moving with purpose and malice. These were the guardians of the clearing, spirits of the forest, bound to protect its heart from those unworthy of its secrets. Alistair, with the wisdom of the wise owl in his thoughts, and the courage of his reclaimed memories in his heart, stood firm. He understood that this trial was not one of strength, but of understanding. To pass through the clearing of shadows, he must confront not only the darkness around him, but the darkness within. As the shadows encircled him, Alistair closed his eyes, focusing on the lessons of the forest. He remembered the whispering trees, teaching him to listen with his heart, the wise owl reminding him of the importance of wisdom over might, and the river's secret revealing the power of memory and love. With these thoughts, he reached out to the shadows, not with a sword, but with an open heart. To his surprise, the shadows hesitated, their dark forms wavering at the edge of his reach. Alistair spoke, his voice clear and true. "I come not as a conqueror, but as a seeker of peace. I seek the heart of ether to heal my kingdom, not for power, but for love. I recognize the darkness within me, the fears and doubts that bind my soul, and I accept them. Let me pass, not as your enemy, but as a part of this forest, bound by the same quest for harmony." The shadows, stirred by his words, began to retreat, melting away into the night, until only the natural moonlight remained. The clearing, now bathed in a serene light, revealed a path previously hidden, leading deeper into the forest, towards the heart, where the heart of ether awaited. Alistair, heartened by the trial's completion, stepped forward with renewed vigor. The clearing of shadows, with its daunting guardians, had tested him in ways he had never imagined. But it had also taught him that the greatest challenges often required not the strength of arms, but the strength of character. With the clearing behind him, the prince moved forward, the path ahead clear, and the weight of his quest lighter upon his shoulders. The forest, now an ally, whispered words of encouragement and caution, for the journey was far from over. But Prince Alistair, with the wisdom of the forest in his heart, was ready to face whatever lay ahead. For he was not just a prince seeking to save his kingdom. He was a man on a quest to unite a world. Chapter 2: Pieces of the Past. As dawn painted the sky with strokes of pink and gold, Prince Alistair emerged from the clearing of shadows, stepping into the light of a new day. The Enchanted Forest, with with its trials and whispers, had transformed from a place of mystery and fear into a realm of wonder and guidance. But the journey was far from over. As the sun climbed higher, casting its warmth over the land, a new encounter awaited the prince. In the gentle light of morning, a figure emerged from the underbrush, its coat shimmering with the hues of autumn. It was a fox, but unlike any Alistair had seen before. Its eyes glowed with a mischievous intelligence, and in its gaze, the prince sensed a connection, a shared understanding that went beyond the boundaries of language and species. "Good morrow, young prince," the fox said, its voice smooth and cunning. "The forest whispers of your quest, and I find myself intrigued. Perhaps I may offer some assistance, albeit for a small price." Alistair, wary yet curious, nodded for the fox to continue. "And what price would that be?" he asked, mindful of the tricks and bargains that often came with fey creatures. "A favor to be claimed in the future," the fox replied, its tail flicking playfully. "Nothing more, nothing less. In exchange, I offer you a memory from your past, one that may light your path forward." The prince considered the offer carefully. The trials of the forest had taught him the value of wisdom and caution, yet he knew that every piece of his past was a step closer to understanding his purpose. With a nod of agreement, Alistair accepted the fox's terms. The fox closed its eyes, and the air around them shimmered with an unseen energy. Then, in the mind's eye of the prince, a vision began to unfold. He saw himself as a young boy, no older than 10 summers, running through a meadow ablaze with the colors of spring. Laughter filled the air, a sound so pure and joyful it seemed to banish all shadows from his heart. Beside him ran another figure, a girl with hair like the setting sun and eyes bright with laughter. They chased each other, tumbling through the flowers, their laughter mingling with the song of birds and the whisper of the wind. It was a moment of pure happiness, untouched by the burdens of the crown or the shadows of the future. As the vision faded, Alistair felt a warmth in his chest, a light that pushed back the darkness of doubt and fear. He turned to the fox, his eyes alight with questions. "Who was she?" he asked, the memory lingering like the echo of a forgotten dream. "A friend," the fox replied, its eyes glinting with secrets. "One whose role in your story is yet to be revealed. Remember this feeling, Prince Alistair, for it is the strength of these bonds that will guide you through the darkness." With those cryptic words, the fox bowed and turned, disappearing into the forest as silently as it had arrived. Alistair stood for a moment, the memory of laughter and lightness anchoring him to his purpose. He knew now that his quest was not just for the sake of his kingdom, but for the sake of all the moments of joy and love that had defined his life. With the fox's tail etched in his heart, the prince continued on his journey, the pieces of his past slowly coming together to form the tapestry of his destiny. Each step forward was a step closer to understanding the full scope of his quest, and with each memory reclaimed, the path to the heart of ether grew clearer. In the heart of the forest, where the light danced through the canopy and the air thrummed with the magic of ancient spells, Prince Alistair's journey continued. The memory gifted by the fox, a beacon of joy and innocence, had lit a fire within him, burning away the remnants of doubt. Yet, as the path wound deeper into the embrace of the woods, a new challenge emerged, one that would test not his heart, but his spirit. Emerging into a clearing bathed in the golden hues of the afternoon sun, Alistair's path was barred by a figure as ancient as the forest itself. A bear, massive and majestic, with fur that shimmered like the earth itself, stood before him. Its eyes, deep pools of wisdom, regarded the prince with a calm that spoke of the ages, of rivers carved and mountains raised. "Prince Alistair," the bear's voice rumbled, echoing the deep song of the earth. "Your journey seeks to mend what has been torn, to restore peace where discord has sown its seeds. But strength alone will not guide you to your end. True courage comes from understanding, and the mightiest weapon is the wisdom to wield it." Alistair, taken aback by the bear's solemn words, felt a stirring within. "How do I find this wisdom?" he asked, his voice a whisper in the grandeur of the clearing. "The wisdom you seek is already within you," the bear replied, its gaze softening. "It lies in the memories of love and joy, in the bonds that tie you to your land and your people. Remember why you embarked on this quest, not as a prince, but as a man who loves his kingdom." The bear then guided Alistair to the edge of the clearing, where a stream flowed with the clarity of truth. "Look into the water, Prince Alistair. See not your reflection, but the lives and dreams of those you wish to save. Your strength comes not from the crown, but from the resolve to protect, to nurture, and to heal." Alistair peered into the stream, and in its waters, he saw not his own face, but the faces of his people. He saw their hopes, their fears, and the love that bound them together. He saw the kingdom in its entirety, a tapestry of lives interwoven by destiny and duty. And in that moment, he understood the bear's wisdom. With a heart filled with newfound purpose, Alistair turned to thank the bear. But the creature was gone, leaving behind only the whisper of leaves and the memory of its presence. The prince knew then that the bear's wisdom was a gift, a beacon to guide him through the darkness, reminding him that true courage was the courage to care, to stand not above his people, but with them. Armed with the lessons of the bear, Alistair continued his quest, his steps sure and his heart light. The challenges of the forest, once daunting and fearsome, now seemed but steps on the path to a greater end. Each creature he encountered, each trial he faced, brought him closer to the heart of ether, but also closer to understanding the true nature of his journey. It was not just a quest for peace, but a journey of the soul, a test of the heart's resolve and the spirit's courage. And as the shadows of evening began to gather, Prince Alistair moved forward, his resolve unwavering, guided by the wisdom of the bear and the light of his own spirit. As twilight draped its velvet cloak over the enchanted forest, Prince Alistair found himself in a glade where the air itself seemed to pulse with an unseen magic. The trials of the day, filled with lessons from creatures wise and ancient, had prepared him for this moment. Yet nothing could have braced him for the spectacle that awaited. As the first stars pierced the night sky, the glade began to stir with life. A symphony of light orchestrated by none other than the fireflies. They emerged like sparks born from the earth itself, each one a beacon in the darkness, swirling in a dance as old as time. But these were no ordinary fireflies. They were the keepers of memories, guardians of the moments that define a life. Alistair, mesmerized by the beauty before him, felt a pull towards these creatures, an inexplicable connection that tugged at the very fabric of his soul. He watched, awestruck, as the fireflies danced closer, their light casting shadows that played across his face, each one a fleeting memory made manifest, compelled by a force greater than curiosity. Alistair reached out, his hand closing gently around one of the fireflies. The moment his fingers brushed against its light, the world around him faded, and he was swept into the depths of a memory so powerful it stole his breath away. He found himself standing in the gardens of his castle, the air filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the sound of laughter. Beside him was a woman, her hair like woven silk, her eyes alight with joy and love. She was a vision, a part of his past that had been torn from him, her identity obscured by the curse that had clouded his mind. They spoke of dreams, of a future together, their words painting pictures of a kingdom at peace, of a life filled with happiness. But as the memory unfolded, a shadow fell upon their dreams. Alistair saw the woman's face cloud with sorrow, felt her hand slip from his as she was pulled away by forces beyond their control, leaving him alone in the garden, her laughter echoing in his heart like a song whose melody was forgotten. As quickly as it had come, the memory faded, and Alistair found himself back in the glade, the firefly's light dimming in his hand. The loss, so palpable in the memory, weighed heavily upon him, a reminder of what he fought for, of the love that had once been his guiding star. With a gentle breath, he released the firefly, watching as it rejoined the dance, its light mingling with the others, a testament to the beauty and pain of remembrance. Alistair stood there, heart aching with loss, but also burning with determination. The dance of the fireflies, with its haunting beauty and sorrow, had revealed to him the depth of his quest, not just for the heart of ether, but for the chance to heal, to make whole what had been broken. As the last of the fireflies vanished into the night, leaving the glade bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, Alistair took a deep breath, steadying himself against the swell of emotions. The journey ahead was fraught with unknown dangers, but the prince knew that the key to his quest lay not just in the battles to be fought, but in the memories to be reclaimed, in the love that had once been his and could be again. With a renewed sense of purpose, Prince Alistair stepped out of the glade, the night's lesson etched into his heart. The dance of the fireflies had shown him the power of memory, of love and loss, but it had also kindled a flame within him, a light to guide him through the darkest. Beneath the canopy of stars, Prince Alistair's journey led him to the heart of the Enchanted Forest, where the air whispered of secrets long kept and truths long buried. Here, shrouded in the mists of time, lay the Forgotten Grove, a place where the ancient trees stood as silent guardians of history, their roots entwined with the destinies of those who had come before. As Alistair stepped into the grove, the atmosphere shifted, the air thickening with the weight of ages. The trees, towering and majestic, seemed to lean in, their leaves rustling with the voices of the past. It was as if the grove itself recognized the prince, welcoming him back to a place he had never known, yet felt inexplicably connected to. "Welcome, Prince Alistair," murmured the wind, carrying with it the voices of the trees. "We have awaited your return, for within us lies the memory of your lineage, the tales of your ancestors, whose blood runs through your veins." Compelled by a force beyond his understanding, Alistair reached out and placed his hand upon the bark of the nearest tree. In an instant, a rush of visions flooded his mind, each memory a thread in the tapestry of his heritage. He saw his forebears, kings and queens, who had ruled with wisdom and courage, their reigns marked by periods of prosperity and peace. He witnessed the founding of the kingdom, the signing of treaties, and the forging of alliances, each decision shaping the land that he now called home. But among these memories of glory and honor, there were also moments of strife, of challenges that had tested the resolve of his ancestors. He saw battles fought to protect the kingdom, sacrifices made to preserve its future, and the heavy burden of the crown passed down through generations. In one poignant memory, Alistair saw a queen, her face marked by the sorrows and joys of her reign, addressing her people with words of hope during a time of great despair. Her strength, her unwavering belief in the goodness of her land and its people, struck a chord within him, echoing the very fears and hopes that lay in his own heart. As the visions receded, leaving Alistair breathless and overwhelmed, the trees spoke once more. Your journey, Prince Alistair, is but the latest chapter in a story that began long before you were born. Your ancestors watch over you, their wisdom guiding your steps. Remember, you are not alone in your quest. The strength of your lineage flows within you, a beacon to light your way. With tears in his eyes, Alistair withdrew his hand from the tree, the weight of his heritage a comforting presence in his soul. He understood now that his quest for the heart of ether was not just about saving his kingdom from war. It was about honoring the legacy of those who had come before him, about fulfilling his responsibilities, not just as a prince, but as a man who loved his people. As he left the forgotten grove, the prince felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The memories of his ancestors, their triumphs and trials, fortified his resolve to bring peace to his kingdom. The grove had reminded him that he was part of something greater, a story woven through time, and that his actions would be remembered by generations to come. With the wisdom of the bear in his heart, the lessons of the fireflies illuminating his path, and the legacy of his ancestors guiding his steps, Prince Alistair pressed forward, the grove fading into the mist behind him, its secrets etched forever in his memory. In the tranquil hours of dawn, when the first light of day whispered secrets to the slumbering world, Prince Alistair found himself standing on the shores of a lake so serene it seemed a mirror to the heavens. This was no ordinary body of water, but a sacred place, hidden deep within the Enchanted Forest, known to those few whose hearts were pure and whose intentions were true. It was said that the lake's waters held the power to reflect not just the visage of a person, but the essence of their soul, revealing truths long buried and futures yet unwritten. Alistair, guided by the wisdom of the ancient trees and the lessons of the creatures of the forest, approached the water's edge with a heart open to the revelations it might offer. The prince, weary from his journey, yet resolute in his quest, gazed into the lake, expecting to confront the reflection of his own doubts and fears. However, the waters did not show him the furrowed brow of a prince burdened by the weight of an impending war, nor did they reveal the haunted eyes of a man wrestling with his past. Instead, the lake offered Alistair a vision of breathtaking clarity and beauty, a kingdom at peace. The waters painted a picture of a land healed from the scars of conflict, where fields once marred by battle bloomed with life, and rivers that had carried the tears of the bereaved now sang melodies of joy. He saw his people not as subjects divided by strife, but as a united folk, their faces alight with the glow of harmony and prosperity. Children played in the streets, their laughter the purest testament to the peace that reigned, and elders shared tales of dark times past, their stories a bridge to a future built on understanding and compassion. In the heart of this kingdom, Alistair saw himself not as a ruler set apart from his people by crown and throne, but as a man among them, his hands joined with theirs in the work of maintaining the peace they had together achieved. The vision showed him that the strength of a kingdom lay not in its armies or its fortresses, but in the love and unity of its people, in the bonds forged through compassion and shared struggle. As the vision faded, leaving the prince gazing once more at his own reflection in the calm waters, a profound sense of purpose filled his soul. The lake had shown him not just what he fought for, but what was possible if he dared to dream, to hope for a future beyond the cycle of war and retribution that had ensnared his kingdom for generations. With a heart buoyed by the promise of peace, Alistair turned from the lake, the vision etched into his memory. He knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, that the darkness of war loomed large on the horizon. But the lake had offered him a glimpse of what could be, of what he must strive to achieve. As the prince journeyed forth from the sacred shores, his resolve was unshakable. The reflection in the lake had not just shown him his true self, but had revealed the heart of his quest. A quest not for power or glory, but for the peace and prosperity of his kingdom. With the clarity of purpose bestowed upon him by the lake's waters, Alistair moved forward, each step taking him closer to the fulfillment of the vision that had been revealed to him. A kingdom united in peace, a legacy of hope for generations to come. Under the cloak of night, as the Enchanted Forest hummed with the secret life of its inhabitants, Prince Alistair found himself at the heart of a glade, bathed in the ethereal glow of moonlight. Here, amidst the ancient guardians of the forest, the air vibrated with an anticipation, as if the very earth awaited the moment to reveal its final counsel to the prince. Alistair, heart fortified by the visions of peace and unity, stood ready to receive the wisdom that would guide the final steps of his quest. As the stars weaved their light through the tapestry of the night, the forest began to whisper. It was not a whisper meant for the ears, but for the soul. A language beyond words, carried on the breeze and echoed in the rustle of the leaves. The forest spoke of a time long forgotten, when the land was whole, and the kingdom and the forest were allies, their fates intertwined like the roots of the trees that stood sentinel over the realm. The division between your people and the forest, the voice of the forest breathed, a sound as old and as enduring as the earth itself, is the wound at the heart of the land. It is this rift that has brought your kingdom to the brink of war, a war that can only be averted by rekindling the ancient bond between your ancestors and the guardians of the forest. Alistair, listening with a heart open to the truth, felt the weight of his ancestors' choices, the decisions that had led to the slow fraying of the bond between the kingdom and the natural world. But within the forest's whisper, there was hope, a path forward illuminated by the lessons of the past. To avert the war, you must unite not just the people of your kingdom, but all the inhabitants of the land, human and forest creature alike. The heart of ether, the artifact you seek, is but a symbol of this unity, a catalyst to heal the rift and bring about the peace you have seen in the lake's reflection. The prince understood then that his quest was greater than the retrieval of an ancient artifact. It was a mission to restore harmony to the land, to mend what had been broken. The forest, in its infinite wisdom, had shown him the way, not through might, but through the reawakening of a bond forged in a time when man and nature spoke as one. As the night deepened and the whisper of the forest faded into the silence of the glade, Alistair felt a profound sense of clarity. The path ahead was clear, though fraught with challenges. It was a path that led to the salvation of his kingdom and the restoration of a harmony long lost. With the first light of dawn painting the sky in hues of hope, Prince Alistair stepped forth from the glade, his resolve unshakable. He carried with him the night's whisper final piece of the puzzle that was his quest. The journey ahead would require not just the unity of his people, but the rekindling of an ancient alliance, a covenant between the kingdom and the forest that had been the cornerstone of the land's peace and prosperity. As he moved forward, each step a testament to the wisdom imparted by the forest, Alistair knew that the road to peace was paved with the courage to embrace the past and the vision to build a future where all the inhabitants of the land, human and nature alike, could thrive together in harmony. Chapter 3. The Journey Home. In the tender embrace of dawn, as the forest whispered secrets to the awakening world, Prince Alistair stirred from a slumber deep and restorative, unlike any he had known before. It was a sleep that had washed the remnants of his doubts and fears away, leaving in their stead a clarity so profound it was as if he viewed the world through new eyes. The weight of his quest, the burden of his crown, felt lighter upon his shoulders, buoyed by the wisdom of the forest and the vision of peace that had been entrusted to him. With a heart filled with gratitude and a resolve as steadfast as the oldest trees, Prince Alistair stepped out of the forest and into the light of a new beginning. The journey home, he knew, was more than a return to the castle and the crown. It was a journey to bring the vision of peace that had been entrusted to him to fruition, to fulfill his destiny as a ruler who would lead not by might, but by the wisdom of the heart and the strength of unity. As Prince Alistair stepped beyond the verdant embrace of the forest, the sun ascended higher, bathing the world in a light that spoke of new beginnings. Yet, before he could traverse the threshold that separated the wilds from his kingdom, the forest called to him once more, its voice a gentle summoning that tugged at the strings of his heart. Turning, Alistair witnessed a sight that would forever be etched in the annals of his memory. A congregation of woodland creatures, each a friend and teacher who had guided him through the darkest nights and the brightest dawns of his journey. They gathered at the forest's edge, a testament to the unity that had been forged between prince and nature. First came the wise owl, perched upon the outstretched arm of an ancient oak, its eyes gleaming with the light of knowledge shared and wisdom imparted. From its beak, it offered Alistair a feather, shimmering with an ethereal glow. Let this feather serve as a reminder, it spoke, that wisdom is the light that guides through darkness, the compass that steers towards truth. Next, the cunning fox approached, its coat a blaze of red against the green. In its mouth, it held a small, intricately carved figurine of a fox, a token of cunning and adaptability. "Carry this with you," the fox said, its eyes twinkling with mischief and intelligence. "And remember that sometimes the strength of a king lies in his ability to navigate the unseen paths, to find solutions where none seem to exist." The gentle bear then lumbered forward, its presence commanding yet comforting. From a small pouch, it produced a stone, polished by the ages, smooth and warm to the touch. "This stone is a piece of the forest itself," the bear rumbled, "a reminder of the strength and steadfastness that resides within you, the courage to stand firm in the face of adversity." As he rose, the prince found the forest transformed. The once inscrutable tangle of ancient trees and whispering shadows now seemed to beckon, guiding him with a gentle hand. It was as if the very heart of the forest, recognizing the nobility of his purpose, conspired to lead him home. The path, hidden to him on his journey inward, now unfolded before him, illuminated by the dappled sunlight that danced through the leaves. With each step, Alistair felt the presence of the forest around him, not as a wild and untamed force, but as an ally, its myriad voices speaking in a chorus of encouragement. The creatures of the wood, once elusive, now showed themselves, their eyes reflecting a recognition of the bond that had been rekindled between the prince and the natural world. Birds sang from the branches overhead, their melodies a herald of the new day that lay ahead, and the wind carried the scent of blossoming hope, the promise of a future forged in unity and peace. As the prince made his way through the forest, he marveled at the change within himself. The memories of his past, once fragmented and obscured, now wove a tapestry rich and vivid, each thread a testament to the journey that had brought him to this moment. The wisdom of the ancient trees, the lessons of the creatures of the wood, the visions granted by the sacred waters, all had served to awaken within him not just the memories of who he was, but the understanding of what he must become. Alistair realized that his return to the kingdom was not just a physical journey, but a spiritual one. He was not merely retracing his steps through the forest. He was retracing the path of his ancestors, reconnecting with a legacy of harmony between man and nature that had been lost to time. His quest for the heart of ether, though vital, was but the first step in a greater mission to heal the wounds of his land, to bridge the divide that had grown between his people and the guardians of the forest. As the edge of the forest came into view, the prince paused, taking a moment to look back at the realm that had tested him, taught him, and ultimately transformed him. He knew that the challenges that lay ahead would be many, that the road to peace was fraught with obstacles. But he also knew that he did not face these challenges alone. The forest, with its ancient wisdom and its myriad creatures, stood with him, a silent ally in the quest to unite his kingdom and avert the shadow of war. From the shadows, a myriad of fireflies emerged, swirling around Alistair in a dance of light and shadow. As they circled, one firefly came forward, landing softly in the prince's hand. It transformed into a tiny, glowing pendant. "Let this light guide you in moments of doubt," they hummed in unison. "A beacon to remind you of the love and loss that shapes your heart, the memories that fuel your resolve." Lastly, from the depths of the forest, a chorus of voices rose, a symphony of all the creatures who had watched over Alistair, who had shared their world and their wisdom with him. Each voice offered words of farewell and encouragement, a harmony that spoke of unity and the interconnectedness of all living things. As the gathering came to a close, the creatures of the forest stepped back, returning to the shadow and light of their world. Alistair, holding the gifts close, felt a surge of gratitude and purpose swell within him. These tokens were more than mere objects. They were emblems of the lessons learned, the friendships forged, and the promise of a future where man and nature lived in harmony. With a final glance at the forest, a realm forever changed in his eyes, Prince Alistair turned towards his kingdom, the gifts of the forest clasped in his hands, their symbols etched in his heart. The journey ahead would not be easy, but he was not alone. He carried with him the spirit of the forest, the wisdom of its creatures, and the hope of a world united in peace. With the gifts of the forest clasped tightly in his grasp, Prince Alistair stepped forward, his feet finding the boundary where the verdant wilds met the open lands of his kingdom. It was here, in this liminal space, that a profound transformation took place. A shift so subtle, yet so profound. It was as if the very fabric of his being was being rewoven. As his foot crossed the threshold, a gentle warmth spread through him, starting at his heart and radiating outward, enveloping him in a light that felt as ancient as the forest and as comforting as a familiar melody. This warmth, suffused with the magic of the forest and the blessings of its inhabitants, reached deep into the recesses of his mind, touching the spell that had shrouded his memories in shadows. In a moment that hung suspended in time, the spell shattered, its fragments dissolving into the air like mist under the morning sun. Memories, once fragmented and elusive, now poured back into Alistair's consciousness with the force of a river breaking through a dam. He remembered everything: the laughter and tears of his childhood, the solemn vows of his coronation, the love that had once filled his heart, and the devastating loss that had followed. But along with these personal memories came a flood of understanding, the intricate tapestry of his kingdom's history, the delicate balance of power and diplomacy, and the looming threat of war that had driven him into the forest. The urgency of his quest was laid bare before him, not just as a duty to his crown, but as a calling of his heart, a desperate bid to avert a future of bloodshed and sorrow. Yet this deluge of recollection brought not just clarity, but a profound sense of peace. The spell, in robbing him of his memories, had also robbed him of the pain and the lessons they carried. Now, with his past fully restored, Alistair felt a newfound strength and wisdom. He understood, as he never had before, the weight of the crown he bore, the depth of his connection to his people, and the importance of the mission entrusted to him by the forest. Standing at the edge of the forest, Prince Alistair took a deep breath, his heart filled with a mosaic of emotions: gratitude for the journey that had restored him, sorrow for the time lost, and determination to fulfill his destiny. He looked back at the forest, its depths now a part of him, and then to the kingdom that lay ahead, its future his to shape. With the breaking of the spell, the prince was reborn, not just as a ruler, but as a guardian of peace, a bridge between the world of man and the natural realm. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but Alistair stepped forward with confidence, buoyed by the wisdom of his ancestors, the lessons of the forest, and the love that had been both lost and found. As he walked towards his kingdom, the light of dawn breaking over the horizon, Prince Alistair knew that the journey ahead was more than a return to his castle. It was a march towards destiny, a quest to unite his people, mend the rifts of the past, and forge a future where peace reigned supreme. With the spell broken and his purpose clear, the prince moved forward, a beacon of hope for a land on the brink of change. As the gates of the kingdom loomed ahead, Prince Alistair felt the weight of his journey settle upon him, not as a burden, but as a mantle of wisdom and resolve. The prince who had ventured into the Enchanted Forest, beset by uncertainty and the shadow of lost memories, was no more. In his place stood a leader, tempered by trials and enlightened by the bonds forged with the natural world. Upon his return, the kingdom, which had been teetering on the brink of war, found in Alistair not just a ruler, but a beacon of hope. With the gifts of the forest as symbols of his journey and the wisdom of its creatures etched in his heart, Alistair set forth to unite his people and avert the calamity that loomed over the land. His first act was to summon the leaders of the factions that had been edging towards conflict, offering not ultimatums, but a hand of peace. He spoke of his journey, of the lessons learned from the owl's wisdom, the fox's cunning, the bear's strength, and the firefly's light. He shared the vision granted by the lake, a future where the kingdom thrived in harmony, not just within its borders, but with the forest and all its inhabitants. To the surprise of many, the leaders listened. The prince's words, imbued with the authenticity of his experiences, bridged divides that had seemed insurmountable. Negotiations that had once faltered on the grounds of mistrust now found common ground, guided by the principle of unity that Alistair championed. As the days turned to weeks, the kingdom transformed. Where once the drums of war had beaten a relentless rhythm, now there was talk of treaties and alliances. The prince, with the forest as his ally, wove a peace that was as much a pact with the natural world as it was among his people. The Enchanted Forest, once a place of mystery and fear, became a symbol of the kingdom's resilience and a testament to the prince's journey. In the heart of the kingdom, under a sky painted with the hues of dawn, the day arrived when Prince Alistair was to be crowned king. The ceremony, attended by the people of the kingdom, the creatures of the forest, and representatives from distant lands, was a reflection of the new era that was dawning. Alistair stood before his people, the wisdom of the forest and the lessons of his journey visible in his bearing. As the crown was placed upon his head, a hush fell over the assembled crowd, a moment of collective breath held in anticipation of the future. King Alistair addressed his kingdom, his voice carrying the promise of the peace and prosperity that lay ahead. He spoke of unity, of the strength found in diversity, and the power of harmony between mankind and the natural world. Under his rule, the kingdom entered an era of unprecedented prosperity, its people flourishing in the peace that had been so hard won. The kingdom and the Enchanted Forest grew together, their fates intertwined as never before. The forest, once a realm apart, became a cherished part of the kingdom's legacy, a place of learning and discovery where the wisdom of the natural world was revered and preserved for future generations. King Alistair's reign was marked by a spirit of exploration and innovation, but above all, by a deep respect for the bonds of community and the sanctity of the natural world. The kingdom, under his guidance, became a beacon of hope, a testament to the idea that peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of justice, of harmony, and of the enduring power of unity. As the years passed, the story of the prince who ventured into the Enchanted Forest and returned to unite his kingdom became a legend, a tale told to inspire and to remind all of the courage to seek understanding, the wisdom to pursue peace, and the strength to forge a future built on the foundations of harmony and respect.